Hello one, hello all. It is the most exhausted ghost of them all, Caspa in the flesh, and it's time for a review of Destroy Lonely, If Looks Could Kill. Destroy Lonely is a Atlanta, Georgia rapper under Playboi Carti's label, and this is his fourth studio album, which, I'm gonna be honest, gonna be upfront, because it's honesty here. It's all honesty, and whatever I say is criticism to move towards a more progressive direction in terms of artistry, in terms of building, because this guy is pretty much building with building blocks made of paper and barely getting past the first two blocks. And it becomes really apparent when this guy just doesn't give you anything substantive, doesn't give you anything clever, barely gives you anything memorable tune-wise. Like, I've heard this album like 4 times already, and I could barely recite to you a melody, maybe a bar. I could tell you what it's about because he mentions the same subject over and over, be it hooking up with women, Paris, fashion, drugs, money, guns, which honestly, not, if you're bringing that to the table and you're bringing something unique to the table, something compelling, something clever, something funny, that's fine. But no, we do not get that. We do not get that here at all. We just get the same mind-numbing melodies, the same, what it feels like we're getting the same bars over and over and over. It just gets weaker and weaker and weaker as it goes on. And production-wise, not that adventurous at all. I mean, there is some sonic consistency, like the production has like this emo, like almost like shoegazy rock thing going on, which could be good, but doesn't really go much of anywhere at all. Like, we're just getting 80 minutes of mind-numbingly weak vocals, forgettable hooks, bars that I mentioned earlier barely make the landing, and just sounds like everyone is just so high off their fucking balls when they made this shit. And don't get me wrong, I have nothing against recreational drugs. Legalize it, regulate it, good. But Jesus, if you can't like mix an album well when you know you're supposed to, because when I listen to this, I'm like, that was done by accident. That was not purposely done. That becomes really apparent on here. And sometimes, like, he's barely in tune. Like, he just sounds like he's been in the studio for hours, sleep deprived, trying to get off a bar or a melody, and he's just like, like, he's just like struggling to get that melody out. Like, he just sounds so asleep at the wheel. And he wants to talk about people like copying his style, when in actuality, he really has no style. He's either given us a dollar store Future, dollar store Playboi Carti, or maybe Travis Scott at times. Like, there is nothing that differentiates himself from any other rapper. Nothing. And don't get me wrong, like what I mentioned earlier, songs about flexing, that's great. I think Tyler, the Creator's Call Me If You Get Lost is a great album, but he brings something unique to the table. He brings energy, he brings charisma, and this thing brings the charisma of a fucking brick. And yeah, it's just not exciting. Vocals are so dime a dozen. And there's this one track where on Raver where he drops like the R slur, and it's just so unnecessary, so not needed, so gross. And weird bars like, I'm in Paris, Givenchy my fit, she embarrassed, she's sucking my dick. Who is this woman? Why is she embarrassed? Like nothing, like these bars just don't add up. And don't get me wrong, like there are some rappers who can get away with saying nonsense, but that's because they have the vocal capability to pull it off, to where it's so unhinged and so wild that you wouldn't expect it to make sense because they're coming off like a raving madman. Yeah, so I could say that the most clever, most memorable song on here is probably Chris Paul, and I do dig the hypnotic production that goes into it. But yeah, like most of this, like 90% of this, like 80 minutes of this, well, due to that song being like a few minutes, like about like 75? Yeah, 75 minutes of this. And then you count the weak ass bonus track. Alright, 70 minutes of this. Out of 80 minutes is just emo rap, cloud rap wallpaper. Like, there are times where I've like listened to this and I forgot it was even on. Like I felt like I was having deja vu of Gunna when he dropped those Drip or Drown albums. Pretty sure they were Drip or Drown. Drip something. I'm sorry. Like those are so like unmemorable that I can't even like remember. Sorry, Gunna. But yeah, like I would listen to it and forget it was even on, and then when I realize it's on and I come to, I'm just like, oh, yeah, this is just so unmemorable. I feel like I'm having deja vu of hearing the same bars over and over and over. And if I had to take a shot for every time he mentioned a designer, I wouldn't be able to do this review right now. Good thing I'm straight edge. Bing! But yeah, like this album is terrible. And the biggest offender on here is probably the Safety interlude, which just goes on and on and on. Doesn't really go anywhere. Like you expect it to go somewhere because it has like a nice build, it has like a emo reverb type guitar going on, but it just really goes nowhere. Like there's a little bit of progression in the production, but vocally he just drones on and on and on and on. And I get it, he's not a conscious rapper. I'm not expecting him to drop Kendrick bars, but at least bring something interesting vocally, something funny, something clever, something that makes me want to listen to this. Or if I can't get clever or funny bars, like let me get like weird, energetic, passionate vocal inflections, like where you use your voice as an instrument, like Yeat did on his last album. But yeah, like I can't tell if this guy is trying to sell me on him being one of the greatest, or if he's trying to sell me overpriced fashion. I really can't tell. But yeah, this album was a headache to listen to, and I know I'm going to have to listen to it again when I do my year-end list, because this is probably going on my year-end list of the worst rap albums. No, the worst albums of the year. I'm feeling one heart on this. One heart. Because the production was okay. But other than that, this album just did nothing for me. Not that great of a singer at all. Not that great of a lyricist at all. Flow is okay at best. I'm just... bleh. But what'd you think of this? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Let me know in the comments why. Caspa, The Critical Plug, Destroy Lonely. If looks could kill, till we meet again.